comes back to Rainbow Six after departing another unspecified video game, and what happens? He sets up in that Pain Gaming lineup, and he was probably the only good part of that Pain Gaming squad
absolutely
a season and a half ago. So we'll launch into map number 1, Bank, between DarkZero and FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan's pick, and would you guess it, Michael? Montaigne, banned by DarkZero. Unsurprising, he's a very popular operator employed by FaZe Clan on almost every single attack here.
Specifically Yuna. They were talking about it on the analyst desk, and yeah, Yuna is an absolute terror on Montaigne. You will not see him get to play it very often at this event. There will be moments where the other team, whoever plays against FaZe, will be banning other attacking operators, depending on the map. But Montaigne is a sensible ban there. So is Hibana. That's typical on Bank. You're going to slow down the clear into the basement. You're going to slow down opening those drop downs. Mira and Echo, I think if you've been watching Siege Esports for even a little while, I don't need to explain that. If you haven't, if you're just tuning in for the first time, you don't see much movement on those defensive bans often, especially not at an event like this when the stakes are so high. So Bank, the bans coming out very standard. Montaigne, the most deviation we see there, and it is a specific counter ban to FaZe Clan and Yuna specifically. Now, we're gonna load in here. DZ on defense, FaZe on attack for the start, for the first half. Both hard breachers being brought, everything looking standard right now. There's no suggestion that we would have a server hold from DZ. They're setting up, it looks like operator-wise, for a pretty conservative hold in the site. Interestingly, we will have a 6 pick there off of the Zofia into an Ashe. They serve a similar purpose, but they do their jobs slightly differently, as I'm sure most of you know. Information is abundant on DarkZero too. But you look at that, they brought the Pulse, the Valkyrie, who both have C4. That serves to deny the plant at default when the attack comes in through server. And they've also got the Maestro. So lots of information operators on DZ's side. And all but one of DZ have plant denial. That one being the Jaeger, who will be protecting the defenders from throwables and projectiles.
I just want to talk about the new UI we have at the top, that new banner. I like it very much. Yes, it's very clean. I like that the operator bans are on the outside. The color doesn't go all the way over.
Right.
Production. Golf clap in the chat for production.
Well done yourself.
Thank you very much. You've well done.
Great job.
You've absolutely well done yourself. So, all right. Well, it looks like the pilot program skins are going to be in here as well. Keep in mind with a LAN build that there is a select amount of skins that are available, a select amount of outfits as well. There are of course operator outfits that are banned, so you don't have to worry too much about them.
Yeah.
And teams had an opportunity to equip all of their characters ahead of time, all of their operators, etc. So it looks like 9XT is going to fit in perfectly with where Ion sat on this team, and I know that it was discussed quite a bit on the analyst desk behind, prior to us getting into this actual matchup. But I don't honestly think 9XT is going to be that much of a slouch on what they need him to do to replace Ion. The man has called a professional game before. He's been at this level. He knows how to relay that information. And keep in mind, his most significant performance when he was on Pain Gaming was as Clash. Well, if you're not standing there with a shield in front of you, calling everything that you see, relaying that information to your team, then what are you doing on that operator?
Right.
I think he's going to fit in quite seamlessly.
That could do a lot of what Ion was meant to do if he were able to play at this event. Unfortunately, of course, he's not. But moving on from that, I agree with your point. 9XT, he's a professional player. He's got that experience. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can show us here today. I think the biggest test for him is going to be, will he be able to surmount the pressure? Because there's a lot on his shoulders. Anyway, it's a clear into the server. Yuna's going to open up that drop down using an exothermic charge, and now progress being made here from FaZe, but they have neglected the Valkyrie cam at the middle of square, and this is going to give a ton of information to DarkZero.
And 9XT could have possibly thrown an EMP somewhere in Skylight Stairwell, but he was positioned on the other side of the map, so we'll see what happens, but it's a death sentence for whoever happens to be playing inside a server. They might have just allowed him to get away. Downhill drop, Nyx could possibly get the very first, but traded off by Astro. What a play to start this matchup. It takes a minute in, and Mint is going to have to do double duty. A frag grenade goes out, and he gets taken down by Mav as the crowd roars behind him, and FaZe will take a numbers advantage. They've got the clear up top, and they've got control of server, but we know it's not quite that easy on this map.
Yeah, you hit server, and you effectively hit a wall. These reinforced walls, the ones that Astro are marking right now. FaZe are going to need to open up that wall, and it's interesting because they've only got one exothermic charge. It's going to be used on the east-facing wall, which is unusual. Usually it's the north-facing one, so you can get the default plant. There's no more hard destruction, so the other one can't be opened.
Oh, that's really rough there. A Nitro Cell from Hyper could have been the undoing of the planter, but it's hot and cold to come up and engage. He sees two, he can't connect with those shots. He's managed to down Astro in the process, but has to watch the hatch from above. It's 9XT there, and BC is corralled inside a gold vault all by himself. To fight his way out with a UMP and a Nitro Cell, and this is going to be really challenging. His cross is completely held as the objective goes down from Unit. It doesn't matter if Ion is here or not. FaZe need to capture this momentum, and they do so in that very first round, looking quite good in the process.
Capture that momentum. I couldn't have said it better myself, Parker, because that is so important. FaZe managed to get the lead-off round, and it's not even close. That is going to carry them so far in this match. They weren't sure, obviously, having a different player, no Ion, having 9XT, they weren't sure what to expect from themselves going into this event. And because of that, the first win, I really can't stress how important that is. So we're going to have a quick technical pause, and we'll get everybody back in, and we'll get everything started as soon as we can. But for now, a brief delay. That first round tells us a lot of what to expect from this match. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but I sure did. DZ missing a lot of opportunities to punish FaZe. We even saw those moments thanks to Marsu spectating excellently, where DZ were lining up two players, for example, can't land the shots. The Alda, the Maestro, in red hallway. He had a moment there where he could have potentially taken down two players, and that would have stopped the FaZe attack cold. It would have forced the player on the drop down to actually drop and try to cover directly. And that wouldn't have been fantastic, because that's a disadvantageous engagement to take if you're an attacker. On the other hand, we had a Nyx inside of server, unsupported by the player on server stairs, who accomplished very little. We also saw a server stairs hold where Thatcher was not banned, which means the ADSs are gone. The nades are going to be easy use there to get rid of the smoke.
DarkZero has some colleagues, or have some colleagues, who love to play a very specific style on server stairs. They actually happen to be present at this tournament. It's Team Reciprocity, and the way that they stack up a Warden, because Warden negates the need for an ADS. He just activates his ability. You can wait him out, sure. But against a team like FaZe that might not be the most coordinated, because they are playing with a new addition to this roster, you can get a lot of value out of that Warden pick. So there's potential there for DarkZero to be able to change this up, but it was a prominent read from FaZe Clan. They understood exactly how to take it. The server hold from DarkZero crumpled, even though Nyx was in an excellent position. FaZe dropped at the perfect time when the pressure came through from that dirt tunnel, and they were able to take server away from them. Mint got eaten by the grenade because he tried to refrag. It was aggressive play from Mint. I liked it, but very well timed from FaZe. Every single step was another domino falling for FaZe at that read, as you put it into perspective.
Now, for those of you who don't understand what's going on your screen, there's a lot going on here. And basically, it's really simple. You got your top down in the middle, team up the top left, side on the top right, and then an individual perspective of each of the players. So just so you don't get confused, just so you clearly understand what that screen is going to mean in the future. You'll be seeing it a lot throughout this event. This is interesting. We have a heavy offside presence here, but Astro will win the fight in the garage. That's really big. That means that the roamers upstairs are going to have to come back to the site, and Astro knows this, which is why he's not choosing to take full control of the garage. He'll fall back, and he'll just take his advantage.
Now, look at the way that DarkZero has set up their squad. Number one, they've got a Valkyrie on the board. Well, no longer. But you've got a Mozzie, you've got a Mute, and you've got a Vigil. This is prominent disruption from DarkZero, and you saw those Mute Jammers go upstairs on the first floor. Why is that? Well, the reason for it is because you want to roam as aggressively as you can.
Yeah.
I want to stop myself for just a second and say, I don't know if Mav just didn't set up Jackal. I would imagine he doesn't. Oh, he loses the fight to Nyx. That's a second great shot from Nyx so far in this game. And I guess there's not much to think on or ponder when it comes to Mav, because he's running breaching charges and no secondary shotgun and no smokes.
It's weird.
Could have been the only set of smokes from FaZe Clan, but it's gone for the time being because Jackal is removed from action. That aggressiveness from Mav, whether it was a read or a call or not, ends up with a very valuable piece of utility gone from the board. It's now on the shoulders of the rest of FaZe to be able to take Skylight Stairwell. As you can see, DarkZero have now employed a second strategy, though, for holding the site. They've also opened up the two walls that lead into server downstairs. This is very different, and it looks like the roam up top from DarkZero has largely fallen off. You've done your job, you've got a kill, there's just a little bit over a minute to go. Get back to site and just try to hold out for the time being, because you know with those walls opened up, you're extremely vulnerable, especially when you have FaZe with full hatch control as they do now.
They still haven't taken control of server though, and that's really important. You can see there is one player on DZ on the server staircase. Cameraman going to the tunnel to try and flank Mint, who is the player holding steadfast. He has used all of his gas canisters, which is not fantastic considering there are still 45 seconds left, and he will not be able to fall back because the drop down in the server has been opened up.
Unless somebody's not watching it, which is very likely because FaZe is now maneuvering totally differently, and they're shifting over to possibly a lockers take, which is where Hyper is playing on the stairs. Astro goes back into garage. We've seen him do this on Zofia and Dokkaebi before. He's got Ash in his hands this time. There's likely a Valkyrie camera in there, but Hyper's too busy being engaged. He knows that there's one coming. There wasn't much HP for Astro, so he takes him down with just a couple bullets. And now Hyper can re-engage onto the stairs. He's got Nyx there working in the tandem, and Yuna doesn't look to the side. C75 comes out. Iron Sight's not good enough, but that's a great shot as Hyper pushes up, and Mint's there as well. And as defiant a first round it was for FaZe, DarkZero put their own exclamation mark on round number 2.
It looks like we're going to have a hell of a match here, ladies and gentlemen, and that was a great response from DarkZero. I really like the way that they worked together on holding that main staircase. The shift there from FaZe, clearly not the right call. Obviously, the reason that they're going to go for that is because they could not dislodge the smoke from server stairs. I get it. It makes sense. They put in a lot of time and work, and it just didn't happen. We didn't actually get to see that, but that was what was occurring off stream. Now, that lack of progress for FaZe on server stairs is surprising to me, considering it was a very similar setup there overall from DZ on the site side as the first round. Now, there were roamers off-site, of course, but those were dealt with. FaZe solved that problem. The initial pick on the Valkyrie forced the roamers to actually play safer, closer to their retreats, closer to their defaults back to site, and DZ were fast to return to the site. They did a lot of work, though, on the FaZe. I have to commend DarkZero in particular for dealing with that Jackal. When you saw Jackal, it was Mav getting picked off early. That was huge because it slowed down the roam clear. He is the premier roam clearing operator.
He didn't even use his ability. He just walked right in.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that Mav wasn't anticipating running the Jackal because I think breaching and pistol is the default loadout for Jackal, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
And I think it was just one of those things where, oh, well, he forgot. And honestly,
possible.
That's a pretty big mistake because what's one of the first things Jackal does when he's attacking server? He shoots out the top of Skylight Stairwell on the second floor so you can look down and see at the top of server stairs. So a Smoke or a Warden or a Jaeger or Bandit Shotgun or whoever's playing that can't be as aggressive around the doorway. It was ultimately, it was played quite poorly by Mav. Without trying to point too many fingers here, he could have been a little bit more patient, so.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of kits that are not fully finished out, have you noticed the lack of cosmetics? Because it does seem as if a lot of these players are maybe just throwing these kits together. But
it could be.
It's just a theory. I don't actually know.
Maybe there's a saboteur in our midst.
I highly doubt it.
I'll go in and change all their loadouts. You'll never see anything coming.
So Hyper playing in reception. Dangerous position to play. And he's going to be on Doc ACOG. That is the most versatile kit you can have in that situation, because if you take the engagements, you don't get headshot, but you do take a bullet from a long-range fight, then you can heal yourself back up. Also, you've got an ACOG on that laser beam of an MP5 to fight back against the attackers as they attempt to challenge you. FaZe, though, have taken control downstairs, and they can open up from below because they've got Mav on Buck now. He can do a whole heck of a lot of work with this operator in this position on a CEO defense.
Curious to see how FaZe is going to tackle this next problem. BC's already taken a little bit of damage, but that's about all that's happened as we're halfway through round number 3. Now, when you're attacking CEO, your take is going to be the Skylight Stairwell. This is going to be the most important part of Bank for 2 to 3 of these sites.
That's big.
This is very, very large, and Mint is there to possibly open it up and get a kill from below, and he's traded off by Mav, as that was excellent drone work, and FaZe, for another round, is able to put everything together, even with the substitute in their midst.
That's amazing, because FaZe doesn't even have a dead player. Hot and Cold, though, will respond onto 9XT. We go to a 4-4, so this is not unwinnable for DZ. Now, Mav still below, still doing work, but he's challenged by Hyper, who is dropped in the main lobby.
Why is the dog down there?
He's dropped in main lobby. He dropped off Banana, and he gets the kill. Now, FaZe Clan are the ones up against a wall.
He stabbed himself with the stim pistol, and he went for broke, and it was the right read to make. Now, Astro knows that he's got another ACOG looking at him, and even though he's got the holo, he'll trade off Hyper. It takes a little while, but 40 seconds means that both of these teams will be barreling towards the finish line. Hard and soft destruction utilized together, and it's hot and cold with an ACOG as well to stare down the thermite. Looks to be Army crawling on in. Yuna's going to be very exposed if he pops up here. He's made his way on in, and he's going to start the defuse just by the desk, the safety of the casing. But there's 2 exothermic charges that have gone off now, and they're trapped. Getting shot like fish in a barrel. They can't stop the diffuser from going down as much as Hot and Cold tries. Gun down is Nyx, and it's all in the hands of the Alda. Hot and Cold, Matthew Stevens, he's been extraordinarily clutch in the long run. He doesn't see to the left. It's the Thermite, and FaZe Clan answers back. Michael, you are absolutely correct. This is going to be back and forth forever, and no, it's not the Thermite, it's the Zofia. Funny, those silhouettes looking so similar. FaZe with 9XT on their own map so far, battling quite effectively. This is no bad map from DarkZero.
Yeah.
If you want to put into perspective, this was the map that DarkZero had a fighting chance of defeating Empire on at the Milan finals. It was an 8-6 final on this map, and it was very close. But keep in mind that this isn't a very strong map for Empire. Well, over the last 6 months, barring the Milan finals, it's a 4-0-0 record for DarkZero here on Bank. Now, FaZe Clan is 5-0-2. DarkZero technically has the better record when you look at that. So,
I mean, if you really, in my opinion, if you look at these maps, to be completely blunt, it looks like we're going to have a really close contest.
No matter what.
No matter what.
And then, of course, we have Coastline.
Yeah.
Coastline is the decider of map. Coastline that was banned 24 times in the last 6 months by DarkZero and 20 times by FaZe Clan.
It's a void.
In the last 6 months.
We don't know. We're going to have to wait and find out on that one.
Well, it's funny because when you get to Coastline, and we'll reiterate these statistics for you for the record when we actually get there. If we actually get there, let's put that asterisk up right now because there's no guarantee that we will actually need it. But if you look at Coastline, it's 3 losses for DarkZero. That's it. The 3 times they've played it. It's 1 victory and 3 losses for FaZe Clan. That's it. Not an awful lot to go off of there.
I want to bring us back to this match, and I want to look at what happened in that last round really quickly. Now, something very important to note is the way that the Vigil played downstairs. So it's incredibly impressive that FaZe even noticed him. They didn't have any dead players. They had somebody live sitting on that drone in the server expecting the flank. Now, the reason that this is relevant is because you saw how the Vigil used the impact, then set up slowly to line up the shot through the bars to deny the exothermic. That's obviously practice. He knows he can do that. He knows how to do that. But what happened there was that the drone spotted him. If the drone had not spotted him, that impact probably would have been expected to come from Archives.
Yep.
FaZe would have challenged Archives, and then you would have been able to save the wall from getting open using that, well, just shooting it from below. So that's a really nice play there from DZ, and a better read from FaZe. Really impressive stuff coming out.
I want to touch again on DarkZero here because they've been who I've been looking at on defense over the last 4 rounds. You can focus on FaZe Clan here, but DarkZero, when they lost CCTV, they completely blew up their composition and they decided to say, hey, let's try things completely differently, and it worked very well. They killed a lot of time. They got a great refrag onto Mav, onto the Jackal. Well, this time around, you're not going to go to CEO again. You're actually going to go to Teller's Archives, which, okay, you try up another site, but DarkZero's flexibility on their composition is what's really showing off to me here. They are showing that they are versatile. This is something that's been a hallmark of this team for years.
And you know what that is? It's because they do the majority of that thinking, of that processing that we usually see come out in matches from other teams. They do all of that beforehand. Before the match even begins, they're like, okay, if we lose it like this, then here's how we solve that problem. Either that, or they just have the most adaptive playstyle of, well, many teams that we've seen compete in Rainbow Six. Not the most adaptive team, but the play style to fit it.
Mint's going to take a step backwards as he sits on the main stairs, playing his pulse below. He'll have an opportunity for a C4 if required while feeding his team information. And people know that Mint is a very talkative and great communicator when it comes to these teams. He's going to be able to assist Hot and Cold to a certain extent, nestled inside of the site, while Hot and Cold takes down Mav. And Mav, who has some of the best entry stats of any player in Pro League right now, has so far not had the best entry in this particular game.
He's been struggling.
If those stats do start to change, that could be a major make or break for FaZe when you look at the way that how close this matchup is. So you leave Astro up above. Well, he's now going to need to find the Mozzie. He's now going to need to find the Pulse, possibly the Valkyrie. DarkZero is overloaded with information. Every single one of their 5 operators is armed to the teeth with some kind of info. And it doesn't matter how much they have. Say goodbye to Hot and Cold as the second EE1D is going to go. Astro in the midst of sight as Yuna's going for the plant. This is a successful plant at round number 3. BC takes out 9XT, and Yuna's going to get away with it. Astro will hold the doorway, looking to see, but he's vulnerable to the left. Oh, he gets peeked on by the Alda, and it's Nyx to take off the head of Astro. This is a great spot for Yuna to be at the top of Skylight Stairs. He's got clear vantage point of a rotate as well as the diffuser that's planted in front of him. Cameraman finds Mint as the Pulse was playing off-site. It's still a 3v2. FaZe Clan in tough spot here. Oh, and Nyx is going to outduel Yuna, so Cameraman will have to come to the rescue. Can he stop him in time? 4 seconds, 3 seconds, you're at 3 speed, you got to go. He'll gun one down, but DarkZero takes him out. We got ourselves a ball game, 4 rounds, and these teams are going to be tied up 2-2. Back and forth as the pendulum goes.
That was so well read from FaZe Clan. The ability to get that plant in Archives, beautiful. They recognize the lack of control just inside of the Archives door. They recognize that DarkZero, as they have been throughout this match, are playing very passively. They're trying to anticipate FaZe. They're trying to assume that FaZe are going to be hyper aggro based on the fact that they've got a substitute, and many would suggest that that would be the play for FaZe Clan. But that's not necessarily exclusively the case. FaZe are, I think, pacing themselves exceptionally well. And their read there on Archives, beautiful. But really allowed DarkZero to bring that back is Nyx right here. This is the moment. That's where Nyx brings the round back into DarkZero's favor. Absolutely huge. And if it weren't for that kill, you can expect FaZe would have been able to hold out that post plant fairly easily.
Ultimately, when you put the diffuser in that position, you live or die off of the person who's going to be watching it, which in this case, I believe, was Yuna, who was at the top of Skylight Stairwell, as we said. You're sitting there, and you're not expecting a Maestro to quick peek you, I think, with an Alda, and that's what happened from our perspective. We got a literal front row seat of Yuna getting eviscerated by the Alda as the Maestro swung around the corner. Not really expecting Nyx to play it that way, but Nyx has, on attack, the best entry stats on DarkZero. And he has been cleaning up with very high impact kills at the start for DarkZero. It might come halfway through the round, and it might be DarkZero's very first kill. It's not exactly an entry statistic, but it's a very vital refrag. You're able to trade off an important operator. In this case, you take out Yuna. Why? Now you have no coverage from Skylight Stairs. You only have Cameraman who had to drop through the hatch because he had nowhere else to go. We saw the same thing inside a Dirt Tunnel, which held Server for just a little bit longer and could have possibly allowed Mint in the very first round to exist longer before he got blown up by a frag grenade. So Nyx, who has had consistency issues at lands in the past, seems to have shaken that out, and he's hungry and motivated, at least for the time being, because he has been the standout player, I would say, for DarkZero through 4 rounds so far.
Astro, what a beautiful camera there. He can see there's 2 players holding on to Server, so he's not going to fight that right now. He can always come back. He can always take that fight later. We've seen that from him a lot, a jump back and forth. He is, of course, playing a 3-speed, so he's got that mobility factor. Just joining out the main stairs, trying to figure out what he's got to do here to puncture this site. The hold here from DarkZero is back to the hard anchor on the bottom floor. This is their 3rd time defending. Last time DarkZero tried a hard anchor strategy, it didn't work out because they had one offsite presence that got absolutely destroyed, and that was the Server presence. 2 players for free for FaZe Clan on the Server side. Now I wonder if the Server hold is happening this time around for DarkZero, and yes indeed it is. There goes the ADS. Will Mint die to the grenade this time? The drop opened up, which means Nyx has to be careful. It's all looking like the very first round of this match in repeat, but the deaths haven't come yet on the DarkZero side.
And the clock is favoring DarkZero, at least for the time being. The longer that DZ is allowing the rest of their anchors to stay pretty inside of sight, the better it's going to be for them. You're going to have to burn an ADS at the bottom of Server, and one of those frag grenades, which has Mint's name on it, is now intended for Nyx, who manages to move. You're going to see a lot of utility dumped on in, and Nyx is circled over to a completely different side. Bad timing, as it's ahead of schedule for FaZe Clan when it comes to burning out those toxic canisters. Mint is a sitting duck for the time being. He's got Nyx backing him up. A drone is going to skirt by, at least for the time being. But there's no coverage at the top of those stairs. Another beautiful shot from Nyx. He's done this again. Oh, and Mint is there too. He guns down Astro. They're having a lot of fun down in Server for the time being. FaZe will have to download their remaining 2 members, and it's very close to a final round, but it's all on Map's shoulders as he takes down Mint. But he's got 4 more members of DarkZero and 50 seconds to go through. Hyper is very low on HP, but Map doesn't have any real utility, barring a frag grenade. Not much he's going to be able to do. He's expecting a close play from Nyx, but that carbine is going to rattle off behind the Server stack. Map will twist in vain. He doesn't really know what to do next. He's got a clear picture of the site, but you're not going to be able to get there, at least for the time being. Frag grenade out, but it's going to miss, and he panics. Fat fingers, and he can't douse Nyx as he's on fire at the bottom of those stairs.
My God. The game sense from Nyx in that round was incredible. Did you guys catch how when the flashes started flooding in to clear the ADS, he rotated deep into server? And why did he do that? He knew that the flashes if they broadcasted that, okay, I'm going to try and nade you. I'm going to try and get rid of this shield. Nyx dodged that nade. He dodged an Ashe charge, and then he worked his way back to server. Because when you're setting up for clearing out an ADS using flashes and then nading it, you're going to use 2 players, and that's a lot of manpower to move. Here's the movement here from Nyx at the end where he gets the final kill from onto Mav. That's another very great play from him because he was aware that Mav had rotated back to the drop down. So many layers there to how Nyx played that perfectly. Meanwhile, Mint on the staircase also did a great job. I believe it was Mint, if I'm not mistaken. He did a great job of holding it down as the smoke, delaying the round. And he also covered Nyx when Nyx was blind behind server from that last flash from the Ashe. So layers there for DZ as a whole, but mostly just Nyx Mint holding out the server. Now we're going to a very interesting site. This is open area. You just don't go here very often. And actually in North America, ages ago, DarkZero, as a different roster, we're one of the pioneers on this site. They did do a lot of work on the back end, creating the strategy that I expect them to be employing right now, which is very simple. You're going to be holding on to kitchen, using long angles to hold on to tellers, maybe a little bit of a roam upstairs. You're going to use castle to slow down on the teller side of things. This is all just a layered setup. Basically, you want to slow your enemy down as much as possible and prevent them from accessing the site directly, but FaZe is having none of it. Look at their setup.
Oh, they're ready to go.
Oh boy, this could be big.
Somebody get the bullhorn out as they're about to sprint right on into the finish line, but at least somewhat prepared as there's Mint. He reads into that one correctly. Expecting a cheeky rush from FaZe. Well, that's not really a surprise. They love to do it. They've done it on many maps before. The UMP is not going to be able to do much against Cameraman. He gets out of there unscathed, and we're 40 seconds in, and 2 members are dead. One of either team. The castle's down, the Ashe is down. BC's watching the rotate hole inside of admin. He's just going to wait patiently for the time being. A drone goes by, he gets shot through the wall. That will not be good for him. He'll escape to the reinforcements as Mav is hot on his heels. But for the time being, both teams will decide to slow down. That rush from FaZe was well read, but DarkZero understood that it was coming and they were prepared, and for the time being, at least it's been rebuffed. As one of the walls inside of Skylight Stairwell blows open from an exothermic charge of Yuna. He gets taken down by the shotgun of Nyx, gunned away from the Kaid. His teams are spread all over. A beautiful wall bang onto Hyper, and now 9XT is in as well. The sound of the EOD goes off. Chaos is reigning over both of these teams, but Nick is there to possibly quarterback defense. 3v2 favoring FaZe Clan. Half of the round is over. Nyx doesn't have very much protection. He'll see 2 flashbangs sail over, and he remains wide-eyed for the time being. It's 2 ACOGs sitting there, Michael.
Great hold position here from Nyx, but he's been spotted now, and the marks come out, forcing the rotate. Mav setting up a nade for someone who's not even there anymore, and it will go wide. 50 HP on Mav, so he can die to a single shot from that TCSG. But Nyx is getting shot from behind. C4 comes out, but it's too late. 9XT, 2 kills in this round, and he's being a big factor for his team. DarkZero down to Hot and Cold, who's managed to light up the Lion and Mav. Only 1 full HP attacker left, but it's the same story for Hot and Cold. And there goes Cameraman. It's 1 shot for 9XT, 1 shot for Mav, and Hot and Cold will win this out. Only 26 bullets left in that Alda, but that's plenty. And he knows this low HP. He can use his Evil Eyes to win this. There's still 40 seconds left, so this is not a rush situation for FaZe. They will pick up Cameraman, so we're back to a 1-on-3. The tension is huge. Evil Eye going to be a massive factor here for Hot and Cold if he can play this correctly. He cannot vault this, so he'll prep it, but that'll give away his rotation and his intentions. It doesn't seem that 9XT has noticed this, though. It doesn't seem like there's a camera, and there's a nice kill for Hot and Cold. He only needs 2 more, and they're both still very low. He can deny the plant with the Evil Eye and just keep himself alive. 19 bullets, so he's got to be careful with that ammunition counter, and here's the denial!
Oh my God!
5 seconds, and Cameraman has to rush! Will he land the shot?
Incredible! One of the finest clutches I have seen, and that gives DarkZero the first half. He calls himself Hot and Cold, but I don't think you could say cold was a word that you to describe that play. Only the ice in his veins. What a remarkable hold, and information being prepped from all of his team as he hops on that Evil Eye at the perfect time. No utility whatsoever for FaZe Clan to be able to take those Evil Eye cams out. What an absolutely masterful play. Oh my God.
I'm shaking my head right now. I
can confirm he is shaking his head.
That's beautiful. That's the type of clutch that's going to go down in history as one of the best. It's not a 1 versus 5, mind you, but the mechanical knowledge there is just impressive from Hot and Cold. And his awareness on the round, his control of the FaZe players. And FaZe had a whole minute to take him down. With 3 players, they couldn't make it happen. Perfect toolkit there as well for Hot and Cold. So, 4-2 in the first half for DarkZero. Wow. FaZe now, they transition to defense, but they transition to defense as the losers of the first half quite one-sidedly. That could have been a 3-3, and that would have been, I think, a good place for FaZe. But that clutch from Hotton, not only does it put you up a round, but think of the mental game going on right now. When you lose a round like that,
that's deflating.
It is incredibly deflating. And you, DarkZero, are going to feed off that win.
Camera feed up and running.
I honestly still can't get over that.
Me too.
It was funny because Hot and Cold was picked up as the no-brain Ash main. Excuse me to all the people watching that happen to be amongst the no-brain Ash main club that's out there. He was on that, in that club, and then the joke was he turned 20 years old and got immediately put on hard breach because he was too old at that point to compete with all of the, quote, young gunners who play this game. Well, this is the value of having somebody who is very adept at entry or secondary entry fragging, because you can put them on a roll like an Echo, like a Maestro, like a Smoke, where there's still exceedingly high clutch and frag potential with the weapons they have and the way that you play it out. Now, keep in mind, FaZe had no clue where Hotton was. That's a significant issue. Whether they were just completely out of drones, they could have been information starved, you know, the drone economy, obviously, but it was really tough for FaZe, and they're going to repeat similar mistakes here on defense.
Yeah.
Astro's roaming, he's unsupported. Nyx walks in, opening kill for DarkZero, round number 7.
As we go into the second half, that kill is going to build off the last round that you were just talking about. And the factors that were so relevant. I mean, as Astro goes down, he's one of the most important players on FaZe as well. We were talking about, or they were talking about him on the analyst desk, and I completely agree. He is an incredible part of the FaZe lineup. And with Lion gone, you need all of those tools to be at their best. He just was playing at the top of main stairs, and that's really interesting to me because it didn't seem like FaZe were actually setting up for a roam. Did you notice that? It was just, hey, I'm going to be up there. And I don't think that was the right call from Astro. I think that is the type of call that will lose you unnecessary rounds and cost you matches. And at this, I mean, guys, there's only 8 teams at this event, and that's only so many matches. There's not a lot of chances. You lose one match and you're gone. There's no second tries here.
Eunice playing the Smoke on server stairs. He's already tossed out what appears to be 2 of his toxic canisters, and there's the second one. So he's got 1 more remaining. My math skills are not quite as sharp as they used to be. It's been a while since I've been in school. He's in tough spot, Eunice, because, well, you've got that server hatch opened up. He's essentially pinned down. He's got an ADS a little bit deeper on in. There's no real problem for BC on the Thatcher, so you can disable the EMP quite effectively. There's going to go another EMP just by the admin office, and it sounds like that's a Maestro cam that's open. Nyx just jumps right in, takes a bit of damage. Amidst the smoke, he sees the Valkyrie. That's 2 kills for Nyx. He'll continue to wander. Where's the next target for him? Can he find one? Well, he's heading on over towards the elevators, hoping somebody else is going to drop down, but he gets peeked by Cameraman. That Alda is proving to be so effective so far. Downed by Hyper, the C7E rattles around the bars. Yuna will have to come back into the site. He's been isolated for the time being, but this is challenging. He doesn't know where the Maverick is, takes one down. It's only 2 remaining for DarkZero in a 2v1 with FaZe Clan sitting at 0 minutes. Diffuser goes down successfully, and Yuna doesn't check to his left, he checks to his right. I believe that's called the Kansas City Shuffle. And the Americans will take yet another round. 5-2 now with DarkZero very firmly in the driver's seat on FaZe's map.
That was big there from DZ. Could you guys see it? The way that FaZe were setting up, they were expecting a default plant, or at least a plant within server CCTV. But what did DZ do? They threw a curveball. A hook unexpected, unpredicted, and unblocked, and rushed into the site in unison.
It's the Kanto Ricchetti special.
I suppose so. And yeah, we saw a beautiful round individually from Nyx there. It was an old school Ash rush where you charge into your breaching round. You don't see that a whole lot in this day and age, and it worked out great. So DarkZero, massive props for the perfect call in that scenario.
I was going to say, this seemed like a perfect time for FaZe to be able to take a timeout. You get 1 timeout per team per map. So there's a possibility of you taking 3 timeouts if it goes all the way to coastline.
Yeah.
DarkZero has not taken their timeout, neither have FaZe. FaZe could do it. I think this is it, because if you lose this round, you're on match point. You can take your technical timeout at that point, but then you've got to run it back the whole way. You've got 4 rounds at that point that you need to stitch together in order to push it to overtime. That's not an easy task, especially with how dominant DarkZero has looked. Now, DarkZero's just won 4 rounds in a row, but it didn't seem like that in round number 5. There was momentum from that clutch, and you called it perfectly. It was a deflating loss prior to the clutch from Hot and Cold, and it's just DarkZero appears to be feeding off of this energy.
I mean, you called it deflating, and I agreed, but I think we're on the same page with that one. It seems like FaZe, right now, they're suffering. They really are, and that's especially bad because we were seeing some really great stuff from FaZe in that first half, in at least the first 4 rounds. Now, FaZe, this is 4 rounds in a row for DarkZero. And that's including a half transition.
4 rounds where they have had 4 rounds where they've had the opening kill in every single round.
Okay.
2 defuses from FaZe, one of which was successful prior to that. But then if you look at the last 4 rounds, every round, DarkZero has had the opening kill. DarkZero has had 1 successful diffuser planted and 1 successful diffuser disabled. That's not bad. So you're not just winning on the objective, you're also winning on kills, and you're getting the opening pick, which is absolutely massive for a team that is as momentum-based as FaZe is. You get knocked on your heels. Keep in mind, sure, 9XT is an accomplished player. We said that from the start. It's not as much of a detriment as, say, bringing in somebody. And he's been doing well. It's not as much of a detriment as bringing in somebody who's brand new to the game. But you're still trying to get him to fit within your system on a very short period of time. And if 9XT is not the first person to die, you've got 3 players who are accustomed to playing together, but then you've still got the beginner on the team trying to sort it out. That is where it becomes very challenging, because a lot of people could possibly argue it's closer to a 5v3 at that point.
And you might not know this, but a lot of things that happen on attack and defense are actually well planned out. Like, for example, droning. A lot of droning is pre-planned. You know where you need to start with your drone in the prep phase, and you know where you need it to end up. But when you've got a new player on the roster, you have to teach him all that. No, you just let him do what he does on that front.
That is not Nyx.
It's been like that for the whole match.
That is Mint.
I've been trying to talk to them, but
they are incorrect. That is Mint, who if you looked at him, you would say, is he an esports player or is he a blue collar welder from rural Missouri? Because that's kind of what. It's kind of what he looks like.
He's an incredible player.
Incredible player. And he's been doing decently well, but he's had both Nyx as well as Hyper there. The smoke is going to pick on out, and down goes Nyx. So opening kill is going to come on behalf of FaZe. Traded off almost instantly, though.
We could say that was worth it for the smoke.
Absolutely worth it, and it's Nyx who's had probably the best hand for DarkZero so far when it comes to impacts. Hot and Cold has also taken a tremendous amount of damage. He'll drop that diffuser. Why? Because he is very susceptible to being destroyed by anything that comes out. An errant bullet, a C4 that is in another zip code could graze his skin and he would be dead.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's only 20 seconds left, Kicks. It's very deceptive. Down goes the cardiac sensor as an EMP will disable the pulse for the time being. There goes the C4, but it misses. Cameraman finds Hot and Cold. He had very minimal HP. Mint is not doing the coverage he needs. He'll find Mozzie, but he lets 1 escape his clutches. There's Hyper watching 2. Oh, 2 from Hyper with Mint on the board. And Mav will now need to try his best with the diffuser down, but DarkZero marches to match point. That was a great recovery on what could have gone very messy when it seemed like Mint let 1 slip through his grasp, leaving the vault. But DarkZero picked it up, Hyper in particular. And now, if this is a perfect opportunity for FaZe Clan to take a timeout, they will take it. There you have it on your screen. I think that's necessary. DarkZero somehow bailed themselves out of that situation.
It's absolutely necessary, and it wasn't just DarkZero, it was FaZe as well. The Evil Eye was EMP'd, so it couldn't deny. The C4, though, went on the other side of the site. That C4 just could not deny the plant. And remember when we saw the Thermite hand off that diffuser to BC? Well, the reason is because, look at that, the C4 lands, does damage to BC. The shots are not landing from Cameraman in the garage, so he's not denying that default plant, which allows BC to plant. Mint and Hyper, meanwhile, covering every angle. Just 2 people. Usually you want to have 3 in that situation, but 2 managed to make it happen. I really got to commend Hyper and Mint in particular, but seriously, it was mostly down to FaZe making mistakes. They had a lot of moments there where they could have easily denied that plant, and they didn't even take away one planter. They didn't delay one planter. The first attempt at a plant from DZ was successful.
I think FaZe came into this matchup with very high expectations because 9XT, as we said, he's no stranger to competitive scenes. He knows the team, he knows the play style, etc. But it doesn't really matter how well, I guess, accustomed or adjusted to the strategies 9XT is when you're going up against a DarkZero that, at least for this map, DarkZero appears to be playing some of the best Siege that we've seen them play on LAN. They look calm. They look focused. Nyx, who's had shaky performances in the past, has shown up better than I think you could say he has at any previous LAN, along with the rest of the team. The quiet member of DarkZero right now is BC, and he's usually the person who plays in a way that you understand that he's on the team. He has been a ghost so far, and it's been both Hyper and Nyx with a little bit of hot and cold. Of course, that clutch cannot go unnoticed. DarkZero came to play. And I say that because this is a team that in Raleigh didn't make it out of the group stages. They lost 2-0 to FaZe Clan. They're prepped to be able to take a map off of FaZe, which they weren't able to do stateside. This was a team that went out 2-0 in Milan. This is a team that, while making it to the top 8 in DreamHack Montreal, lost 2-1 to BDS, a team that wasn't even in a position to be in Pro League at the time. Yeah, they ended up becoming the best Challenger League team, but I don't even think they played a single game of Challenger League as a squad at that point. DarkZero have underperformed expectations, while FaZe Clan have been a very steady force in this game.
Yeah.
This is DarkZero now, playing the Siege that so many of their fans have thought that they could achieve and get to the point of playing, and now they finally semi-realized it. Now, I know it's still way too early to give them championship. There's no coronation here for DarkZero.
We're not done.
But
that's a start right there.
That's a bad start for them as Map takes out Nyx. Say goodbye. That's a spawn peek, and it's another opening kill for FaZe. This is their second in a row.
So you're talking about the history for DarkZero, and yeah, it's been a struggle for them at LANs. Meanwhile, FaZe, they are actually a strong contrast there. I mean, you look at DreamHack Valencia 2019, 3rd place. That's pretty good. Season 9 finals, 3rd, 4th. Season 8 finals, they take 2nd. FaZe are a team that have come so close, and that's just recent history, guys. These guys, they've been around for a long time. FaZe are a team that you expect to be doing exactly what they're doing right now. Putting up 2 kills early, the cameraman will be an easy refrag. And oh, look at that. Astro has actually stranded himself inside of stock. He's not going to be able to get out of there very easily unless Hyper gives him an opportunity to do so. No, that doesn't seem very likely. DarkZero having stranded that player. Actually, no, Astro slips away. That's big for FaZe. Astro will die to a single bullet, but the fact that he got out of there, ooh. DarkZero missing an opportunity to bring it to a 3-on-3. Now they're just trying to open up the wall into the site. And they should be able to do this. Unless there's going to be some impact juggling, which doesn't appear to be. You have impacts on Kaid if you really need them, and you have impacts on Smoke if you need them. Oh, no, Yuna lost Smokes. He has the deployable shield and the Razor Wire now, as with the deployable shield changes. So Smoke is not even in that position. That's something that I hadn't really considered because, you know, I haven't cast it since those changes were made. So, but this is a risky part for FaZe for the time being, because once those panels are opened up, you need some significant clutch potential. A fire arrow from Hyper is going to go on in. You know that it's going to fall, and he's able to tag one with Hot and Cold diving in as well. This is the match on the line right now for FaZe Clan, or at least the map, rather, and it's their map. So they're going to be equally worried. 40 seconds to go. You've still got Hyper on Repel. There's nobody from FaZe Clan who's going to go for it, but Astro decides to jump out. He has minimal HP. Why not try it? Nav finds his 2nd kill, unable to get the smoke as Hot and Cold, who literally absorbs it right to his face. They're going to have to silence Nav, but there's Yuna. They don't know where he's positioned. Hot and Cold will once again have to go for another clutch. He takes one down. Is it about to happen again? Do you feel the magic with the map on the line? Try to find the Maestro. You're going to need to. You got 15 seconds and you'll get both perspectives. But keep in mind there's going to be intel on the cams that'll be guiding Mav. He just needs to play keep away. He's a 3 armor. He's not particularly quick, but Hotten's going to have to play quickly. He's got the pistol out. Mav turns around and FaZe Clan will at least stop DarkZero from putting it away. DZ is going to have to earn it. It comes still way too close for the Brazilians' likings. What a play. FaZe Clan stays alive. They started it off after the tactical timeout, or technical timeout. I guess it's tactical timeout because it's tactical timeout. And what tactic did they decide to employ? Well, let's just spawn peek with an Alda.
And let's be very aggressive. You know that through the 2 rounds that DarkZero have won, DarkZero's ability to entry has been very good. And FaZe have kind of backed off and played a little bit less aggressively than we're used to seeing. So what happens? Well, Bank is a map where you need to take map control very quickly, and there's a rhythm to it. That's what you said about how drones are pre-done, where you pre-place your drones. Who's droning what? Who's clearing what floor? Who's got their drone situated in
Also
what area? So important. Now, FaZe Clan are not going to be the best coordinated team because they are still trying to teach 9XT exactly what they need for their strategies. They can't do that in a couple days. So what can DarkZero do? They can take advantage of that. Entry quickly, maybe get an early pick, which they did on Astro. They got the opening kill, round number 7. FaZe took that advantage away from them. And FaZe played the aggressive long game here, or in fact, I would even say the short game, with how quickly they were able to get the opening pick. And DarkZero got knocked on their heels, and even though it came close, way too close for comfort for FaZe Clan, I think it was a sound strategy from FaZe. Now, you can't really do that when you're defending CCTV lockers downstairs.
Yeah, this is the danger zone. Because this is where we've seen DarkZero win twice in a row coming into the second half. FaZe have struggled here. Desperately struggled. They've made a lot of major mistakes. Remember Astro just running up main stairs. Why? No clue. No actual capacity to facilitate that was set up upstairs by the defenders. And I am just curious to know why he did that. Now, assuming FaZe makes none of those minor mistakes, it's not even sure then that they'll be able to win on this site because DZ have employed multiple attack strategies already, and I'm sure they've got plenty more lined up that are going to catch FaZe off guard. And a reminder, in case you can't see the top of your screen, this is DZ 1 round away from going on to map 2. And most importantly, again, top left of your screen, this is FaZe Clan's map pick.
These maps are very balanced, though, if you look at it that way. Bank is a good map for both of these teams. We have Consulate up next. It was picked by DarkZero, but Consulate is a team that FaZe Clan have 7 wins on. Now, they also have 6 losses. Whereas DarkZero has 8 wins and 3 losses. A little bit different, but this is still a map that FaZe knows decently well.
Good for both.
And the way that Latin America plays a map like Consulate, which tends to be quite linear, the unpredictability in their roam, the way that they entry and take map control is very different than what NA and EU are expecting. So it kind of goes both ways on Bank and Consulate, and then of course we have Coastline as a decider, a map that neither of these teams play, so you can't really look at the maps that are here, Michael, and say, oh, okay, well, FaZe has a definitive advantage. Oh, DarkZero has a definitive advantage.
Absolutely.
I think it's a wash on maps, it's which team shows up, and right now, DarkZero is putting in one of the best performances I've seen out of them on a LAN, and even though FaZe is doing a great job with a substitute, I think it's just a bit too much for them with the way DZ is playing.
Yeah, DZ are doing an excellent job right now. Looks like they will be able to lock this out. They are doing actually a very different and very interesting setup with their exothermic charges. They have only brought 1 hard destructor here. That's the Thermite. With the Habana Band, the Mavericks not being brought, which means those 2 dropdowns that were just opened up is the only thing hard destruction-wise that is going to happen in this round. DZ are bringing out their 3rd different attack strategy for the bottom floor of Bank. We'll see what they manage to do this time around. So they've opened up the back drop down in the elevator and the drop down above security. Meanwhile, they haven't done a lot by the actual server side, and there's still a player in server stairs. That's going to be Yuna, who's trying to get aggressive, but he'll be pushed back by DZ. Now, slow going here, and DarkZero, they want to rush into security.
Very slow going. Nyx is going to go for the same thing. He misses his shots, but he's got 2 in front of him. Line him up, and he'll be able to get more than 1 for his trouble, but Mav is there. Taken out is Nyx and Hyper. So DarkZero faltering as now they are just rushing on in. Hot and Cold is there. He picks up another. He's been so good. C4 connects, and 9XT shows up to the party as BC will need to do it all. He's lost every teammate. He knows he's at the mercy of time. He's got 8 seconds. He'll have to get it down. But FaZe Clan should be able to read into this correctly. And it's 9XT with the heroics in a horrific shotgun utility. Whatever you wanted to call that, super gun all merged together. And FaZe Clan now find themselves with yet another round under their belt. That's 2 in a row. DarkZero cannot let this momentum slip away. They are going to sit on match point until we require overtime. Should we require overtime? DZ, as much as we would say this about FaZe Clan, is a team that can very much get in their own head.
Yeah.
If DarkZero loses motivation, loses hope, then FaZe Clan will be able to capture that same momentum that DarkZero grabbed in round number 4 and are slowly relinquishing. If this round goes in favor of FaZe, I would say that the wind in the sails of DarkZero are completely gone, and their hopes of taking this map might be going dark. as they love to say for their organization.
Now, FaZe, with that win, they will be pushing themselves ever closer to that overtime point. And now, if we do get to overtime, I agree with you, it could be a critical moment for DarkZero, and we could see FaZe actually manage to take this map number 1. Again, as we have stated, I think that most of the maps we're going to be playing here today are going to be fairly close. And I'm actually, to an extent, happy to see that FaZe have not rolled over. Because for a moment there, we were on 6-2. And that is just not what we were anticipating. Not just not what we were anticipating, but actually it would have been disastrous for FaZe in the long run if that had gone to a 7-2. Doubt they would have been able to bounce back from that mentally at the very least. But here we go. We've got an actual match. We've got the 6-4. FaZe getting very close to bringing us to OT, and that's looking pretty good for them now. We are going to be on kitchen defense, and this has only been won a single time, and it was by DarkZero, the other team, and it wasn't just by DarkZero, it was by Hot and Cold in particular, who managed to win a 1-versus-3. So I don't know if you can really count that as an actual, tangible win on this site, as much as more technical one. They got it, but it was close, and you can't rely on clutches. Meanwhile, it's a totally different team, so I'm not sure. We'll see how FaZe choose to defend this. We'll see how the attack chooses to come at this. I'm guessing it's going to be a top floor clear. That would make the most sense considering there is a Jackal on the board here for DarkZero, and it should have plenty of breaching charges, but I did miss that infographic, so.
I don't think there's any defensive structure upstairs for FaZe Clan.
Which is odd.
Which is odd, especially given they have a castle. Now, I know that Mira enables a setup upstairs much more effectively, but, I mean, you have no top floor control. You're very ripe for soft destruction, which, if DarkZero has breaching charges on Mint, they have it on BC, they got a shotgun in Hyper's hands of Jackal. Ash is going to be, pretty important as well for Nyx.
The C4 setup right here is, I think, to deny the drop down from getting opened up, but actually FaZe have moved off of it. That's quite interesting. But to build on what you were saying, no top floor presence. However, I think it's just intended to be as a wide horizontal realm right now.
It could be. I mean, DarkZero really struggled on that last attack. They managed to pull it off with, 30 seconds left, and they just jumped on in. Now, that's not that strange, I guess, when you're looking at CCTV lockers. There's a chance that you can pull off and execute that late, but usually it's a much more routine execute. That was a drop through the hatch, go for broke kind of style from DarkZero. Here, you've got just a little bit over a minute left in this round. DarkZero seem a little apprehensive as what they want to do. Viper's managed to use his ability to find one of the defenders who's inside of the main lobby and will begin to walk up those main stairs. So if there's somebody playing Banana, they'll be able to capitalize on it. It's BC, goodbye cameraman. He's not gonna be able to do too much. Soft destruction inside of Archives, and it's Nyx to be able to capitalize on that. He's got a long angle all the way back into the open area, but nobody's going to bother to peek. In fact, if you can see through our perspective, there's no silhouettes whatsoever to worry about. Nyx is just gonna hold the angle and hope that his teammates can push them in his direction. But you hear the telltale sounds of the Alda. Yuna finds Hyper, and now Nyx is going to survive and get by with the skin of his teeth. Exothermic charge goes off, and Hot and Cold, who's been stellar in the latter portion of a round, will likely have to shoulder more of this weight. He's going to be fed intel by himself onto the Alda Maestro, and it's going to come down to who blinks first. The Maestro swings on out. Out goes the Ash. Nyx is there, traded off by 9XT. Hodden cannot connect. 9XT's gunning them down. And there you go. FaZe will lock this out. Goodbye, momentum, DarkZero. For the final round without overtime, as FaZe have clawed their way back. They've put 3 on the board, and 9XT was a huge part of that one. He's warming up. The rest of FaZe is getting much more comfortable. And Bank, be it a defender-sided map or not, is going to go the full distance.
9XT, a lot of question marks surrounding him, a lot of not knowing going into this match. We understand he's a professional player. He's been in a great position as a player in the past, but he hasn't been playing Siege for a long time. So coming into this, people really wondering if he's going to have what it takes. And so far, through this match, he has given us an incredible performance, managing to put his team in a fantastic position. I feel like without him, maybe they would be a little bit different on how they're setting up. Yes, maybe it would be better even, but he has been doing great, and you gotta really give him some credit for this moment right here, where he manages to take down 2 and hold on to the kitchen. Astro contributing the other 2 elsewhere, and just great lockout there from FaZe. Now we're 1 round away from overtime. FaZe Clan doing everything they can to push us to that OT. And they are going to go to CEO, which was the beginning of the 3 rounds in a row that FaZe have just managed. This is where they first started winning on the second half. This is where they ended the 5-round win streak from DarkZero.
You just survived an open area defense.
Yeah.
That's tremendous for FaZe Clan. They played it very well. They lost the opening pick to DarkZero, but they were able to bounce back right after, and they kept it rolling. 9XT, who was playing very well inside of the site, I don't think was ever spotted by anybody on DarkZero. And then you had the Alda and Hot and Cold just simply missing his shots, which you don't miss those shots unless you're a little bit nervous. DarkZero is a team that has never made it out of the quarterfinals. We mentioned that a couple rounds ago. There are nerves and expectations here that are going to be on DarkZero's shoulders that will inevitably weigh on their minds. Now, you have to give a lot of credit to FaZe Clan no matter what happens in this round. If you go to overtime, you've been able to take 4 rounds on your own, which I said was unlikely given the way that FaZe had played, but they took a tactical timeout. Twister, their coach, obviously saw something he liked, and he was able to right the ship for FaZe Clan. DarkZero still has a chance to take their tactical timeout as well. Executes are hard on Bank, sure. But you've got to find some kind of magic to put this one away, because if you go to overtime, you've got to expect that FaZe Clan will have every single piece of momentum working in their favor. And we still got Consulate up, so what a way to start the day here, going the full distance on map number 1. It's always good to see close contests. We expected these two teams to be very strong even before 9XT was put onto this roster to fill in for Ion.
Hot and Cold's going to be able to open up that wall. Meanwhile, Nick's trying to hold the run out outside, and he will actually get Cameraman, who attempts to deny the North presence by running out through a window, it seems. Didn't actually catch that, but that seems to be the case. Now, DarkZero have opened the wall, and they have denied a little bit of site presence by eliminating the castle. That Ash Charge is going to open up the line of sight for the players on North Repel, so they're going to be able to apply more pressure to the site directly from that position. Now, the square presence from DarkZero is lighter than usual. But they've got a decent array here to actually push into the site, and they do have smokes on the Capital. That's Hyper going outside, setting up to cover the plant. There's only 1 minute here for DarkZero, but they are going to be in a good position. The Evil Eyes are going to be a large factor, as will the smokes, in this coming push.
FaZe Clan is going to have to play with their anchors a lot more sheltered than before, because last time the opening pick went to FaZe Clan. They took Nyx out of action, and then they snowballed from there. It still came down to a 1v1, if you recall. Oh, that's a great play. Astro's going to lean in, and he's going to go for another, but he's not going to get it. Traded off by Hyper as he does the suicide dive out the window. Nyx is lying prone inside a lobby. Somebody might be coming for him, and indeed he is. He spots the Maestro Mav. Goodbye, and FaZe Clan's chances are just evaporating in front of their eyes. 9XT and Yuna, who may not be the most reliable, as 9XT gets gunned down, and Yuna's on such low HP, he won't be able to do anything. The momentum was seized by FaZe Clan, but DarkZero is there to steal the first map. FaZe picked Bank, but DarkZero will pick up a very big victory. We'll look to Consulate for map number 2, but that must be a sigh of relief for the North American squad after how close that one came.